Petrified, but trying not to show it, you thank the man for his concern and continue walking, afraid you will lose your nerve if you stay with him for even a moment longer. Gradually, you become aware of rancid odors, smelling like rotting meat. Large bands of malevolent souls pass you by, all with hideously malformed bodies, reflecting their distorted minds. And though you hold your crystal heart tightly in your hand, and are therefore completely invisible to them, you know everything about each person that passes by. Some of them have been here for centuries, but their ghastly appearance isn't caused by the passage of time. It is their ongoing, malicious thoughts which appear etched on their repulsive faces. As the sounds from the groups match their horrendous surroundings, everything from mad, raucous laughter to shrieks of torment, inflicted by others as demented as the person being tortured, you clearly see an overlay hovering around each person. Everything is completely transparent. Whatever is created and held to be true on earth is now outside for all to see. And though a person may have escaped moral justice while playing the game, in this place there is a self-created, strict, unrelenting justice. Trembling with fear, you continue walking unseen through the roving bands, until they eventually diminish and you find yourself enshrouded in darkness. Without thinking, you pull the heart-shaped stone out of your pocket and discover you can see in the dark with perfect clarity. Grasping the stone tightly, you climb down over large rocks and boulders, covered in a revolting, noxious-smelling, dirty green slime, hoping desperately the stone will protect you from falling. After climbing down for about a mile, you look up. Towering above you, treacherous and menacing, with a circumference of several miles, you realize you're inside a massive crater. Rocks and boulders are strewn everywhere, as if there has been an enormous earthquake, and everything has hurtled into the depths below, scattering in all directions, forming natural caverns and tunnels. In the center of the crater, a dull cloud of poisonous vapor rises up, as if a volcano is churning below on the verge of erupting. Dimly through the haze, you see what might have been human beings at one time, crawling on all fours over the surface of the upper rocks. Hovering above each one, you see the regrettable lives they had lived on Earth. With your heart hammering frantically in your chest, and your legs shaking with exhaustion, you force yourself to keep moving until you reach a part of the crater that is the most densely populated. Each person is frighteningly distorted from their limbs to their faces. Some are seated on small boulders, conspiring together with a clearly evil intent. Others are lying face down on the ground, as though exhausted. Small groups torture those who have fallen out of favor, delighted in their victims' unbearable shrieks. Everywhere you look, there is unspeakable cruelty, and you are not yet even at the bottom of the pit. Horrified, you step back, trip over a rock, and as you fall backward, you open your hands to catch yourself. The pink stone drops to the ground, skitters across a large flat rock, and as you desperately reach out to save it, the crystal falls into a cesspool with a heart-stopping plunk. The moment the protective stone leaves your hand, a man's eyes flash open. Suddenly able to see you, he focuses on you with laser-like attention as you struggle to get up. Slowly and laboriously, he inches his way up the slimy incline, edging his way toward you. On hands and knees you try to scramble out of his way, but instead you slip on the rocks and tumble down the incline toward him, landing on your back. The man reaches out and grasps your ankle with a fierce, crushing grip. You scream as you flip over with your hands on the slimy rocks and struggle to pull your foot out of his grasp. But he is unbelievably powerful despite the deplorable state of his physical body. You burst into tears as unbearable pain shoots through your ankle and up your leg, as if you are bound by an iron shackle. The man looks up at you with beady, penetrating eyes peering out of a monstrous face. His repulsive mouth is more like a gaping, cavernous opening, with yellowed, dripping fangs rather than teeth. He exudes the odor of rotting flesh, and the remnant of clothing he wears is nothing more than a filthy rag, hanging so precariously from his body that you can see most of his grey, lifeless-looking flesh. His skin is paper-thin, and you expect to see his bones pop out at any moment. His hands are talon-shaped like a bird of prey, with fingernails more like claws. Everything about him is so distorted and malformed, he seems barely human. Screaming and yelling only make the man more powerful, so you do your best to stay calm and quiet despite the lightning pain shooting up your leg. Though you try not to look at the man, you can't help but see images of the mental and physical torture he had caused, hovering all around him, floating in the mist. You can see that every crime he committed against others, he is now experiencing himself, living daily with the indelible memory of everything he had done, while feeling all of the pain and anguish he had callously caused, both directly and indirectly. His body and spirit are the visible expression of cause and effect. Yet even with all the pain he suffers daily, it is also clear that given the strength and opportunity, he will continue torturing others, yourself included. His mind is creating a self-fulfilling prophecy over and over again. Desperate to escape, you try to grasp the slick-coated rocks beneath you while attempting to gain some leverage to help you stand, but your fingers slip through the festering slime. Although the man is lying on his belly without the strength to move any further, it seems he has the ability to channel all of his strength into and through his hand, and there is nothing you can do but fight back the terrifying feeling that you will never escape, and no one will be coming to save you. You try to remember what you've been taught, and take a deep breath, only to gag on the putrid air weighing you down, constricting your breath, and causing a terrible squeezing pressure in your chest. Tears well up in your eyes from the searing pain in your ankle. "Let me go!" you yell with as much authority as you can muster. A hideous sound gurgles out of the man's throat, and you realize he is laughing.
It's been so long since I could touch and taste and suck the life out of one as innocent as you. Rare birds like you never land in a place like this.
Anger and disgust twist through you, and even the smallest movement on your part sends needles of pain searing into your ankle as the man tightens his talon-like fingers, digging his claws into your flesh. Laughing at the expression of intense pain on your face, the man says in a deep, ominous tone,
"You think you're such a little lamb, don't you? You don't even think you belong here. But even lambs lose their innocence. Sooner or later they're taken from their mothers and slaughtered. For you, it came sooner. That's why you're dead. That's why you're here."
Furious, you hiss, "You're wrong! I'm not like you! I don't belong here! I came here for a reason!" A sputtering laugh erupts from the man's throat as green mucus dribbles from the corner of his ghastly mouth.
"You are what you see. All of this is you,"
he says, indicating your disgusting surroundings with a slight nod of his head. A swollen, nauseating wave of grief and anger threaten to overtake you. What if this repulsive thing is telling you the truth? How long will you be doomed to stay here? But then a thought flickers through your mind. Thy will be done. "No!" you scream. "You're wrong! I don't belong here!"
No. You're saying you don't hate the man who killed you? You don't despise him for what he's done to you? All that he's taken from you?
Says the man with a monstrous, satisfied grin.
Oh, wait.
He says, as if reading your mind.
Don't tell me you believe that you are a multi-dimensional being, capable of playing within multiple avatars at once? That's such an amazing con. If you were really playing the part of your opponent, then what if you are me and I am you? Isn't that a horrifying thought?
He says in revolting delight.
Does that mean you're not the least bit infuriated that I can do whatever I want with you? That I have the little tigress by her tail?
He says, jerking your leg with such intensity you shriek in pain as your entire body scrapes along the rocky surface. Shaking and filled with rage, you bite your lip and wordlessly glare at the man, wishing he would explode on the spot.
Yes,
he says in a low, hissing voice.
There you are. The angry little lamb. The self-righteous, judgmental little lamb. Ah, let's see the vindictive you come out.
You shake your head, nauseous with anger and disgust. I'm not staying here. I only came to get information, you say vehemently. A gurgling chuckle bubbles out of the man's throat.
Oh, I'm quite sure you'll be staying,
the man says slowly and deliberately.
I'm afraid no one's coming to save you.
You can feel the man's strength returning to his body as you are being drained of yours. Black, all-consuming hatred rises from your stomach and up into your throat, as suddenly everything before your eyes turns a dark, muddy red. As much as you loathe this revolting creature before you, you despise Thomas even more. But now is not the time to worry about getting back at him. You need to escape. And that makes you wonder. If thy will be done works in the dark realms just as it did in the game, then my deepest wish is for these two monstrous men to spend eternity suffering over and over again for every bit of suffering they've caused.
Ah, little lamb. Be careful what you wish for. I told you that you belong here with me. And this is where you'll stay. I can guarantee it.
He grips your ankles so tightly you scream in agony.
And fear will keep you here. You are in my world now.
Sucking the life out of you, the man gains more and more strength as you thrash about, trying to kick him and free yourself. Yet you find yourself utterly powerless. Burning pain courses through every inch of your body as he drags you slowly over the rocks. You flap about helplessly like a bird with a broken wing until he draws you fully into the cesspool. With one last gasping breath, you are drawn below the surface and into the depths of the foul, fetid liquid. How is this even possible? You are a good person. How could this wretched excuse for a human being, or whatever he is, manage to drown you? After a short period of struggling, you involuntarily exhale, and in one spasmodic breath, the decaying liquid fills your mouth and windpipe, completely flooding your lungs. Half conscious, you do everything in your power to claw your way to the surface. Anything to stop the horrific sensation of being smothered to death. But darkness closes in on all sides. Your body goes limp, your lungs give out, your mind is blank, and there is nothing to do. The man releases your body as you float lifelessly far below the surface. You can't move or breathe. You want to die, and it seems your body is dead. But now you fully understand the truth. Death does not exist in the spirit world, and it will just be a matter of time before you regain your strength, and then that hideous creature will be waiting to drown you again and again and again. Minutes feel like hours, but finally you can move your eyelids, and without thinking you open your eyes. Somehow in the dense liquid, you are seeing the ghostly grey faces of people who had fallen into the cesspool. Their flaccid bodies are alive, but barely moving as they drift about, staring aimlessly into the grey depths, waiting for the strength to crawl out. The grotesque man floats nearby. He has used all of his might to hold you underwater until you drowned, and now he is waiting to have enough strength to overpower you again. Rage eats its way through your body, consuming you from the inside out. This is all because of Thomas. He had you killed, and he's planning to indiscriminately kill as many human beings as possible in the future. You can only imagine the Machiavellian schemes he has been responsible for in the past. Thomas knows he's the one who deserves to be here. This is his hell, not yours, but he sent you instead. Apparently, he thinks he can avoid this place. But you do feel a certain satisfaction, knowing there will come a day when Thomas will no longer be able to hide behind his power, position, or politics, and he will suffer like this for eternity, if you have your way, and you will happily watch. A woman drifts by underwater with a hungry look in her eyes, as if she is craving the anger exuding from your body, hoping to suck in the sensation while she waits until the time is right. You close your eyes tightly. You can't breathe. You can't think. A grey mist clouds your mind, and yet somehow you know you have to remember something. What is it? How have you come to be in this place? Remember, remember, remember. You feel nothing but dark, dank liquid surrounding you and filling your lungs. You barely remember your own name, but you know one thing for sure. You are powerless to change anything. Slowly, your leaden, numb body sinks through thick, murky layers until you settle on the slimy bottom, face down, arms outstretched. But you are beyond caring. Then, to your surprise, a gentle sensation pulses through two of your fingers. You press them in the direction of the warm current of water and feel something hard and small. You have just enough strength to pick it up. A soft, tingling feeling spreads through your hand, up your arm, and flows into your entire body. In the palm of your hand is the heart-shaped stone. Suddenly your mind becomes perfectly clear and alert. "Help me!" you scream silently. Instantly you see a vision, almost like a dream of yourself standing next to Thomas. But rather than seeing physical features, you see energy radiating from both of your bodies, swirling around you in muddy colors. Around your own body you see variations of dark reds and browns, and the words angry, vengeful, hateful. Black and red light erupt from your heart as the words guilty and vindictive float on the surface of the colors. None of it makes any sense, so you focus instead on the dark, rusty colors that surround Thomas's head, accompanied by a strange halo of words. You can literally see words such as prideful, indifferent, demanding, scornful, floating in and out of the dark, muted colors. Blackish-brown colors envelop his body along with the words shameful, despised, miserable, humiliated. These words describing Thomas made sense, except maybe the humiliated part. But you don't understand what you're seeing around yourself. You aren't a vengeful, vindictive person. Well, perhaps a little when it comes to Thomas, but he certainly deserves to suffer for all the terrible things he has done and is about to do. Still, there is that energy of guilt flowing out of your heart. But you have no reason to feel guilty. You haven't done anything wrong. So it has nothing to do with you. Instead, you focus intently on Thomas's faults. And you know for a fact that your anger is completely justified. So you have every right to be vindictive, and he deserves pain and suffering. As your rage blooms, you discover that you feel better. Yet you can't help but notice that the colors swirling around your own image are becoming darker and darker, until suddenly you are sucked into the image and find yourself standing inside a massive clear glass globe. But this globe isn't filled with lovely white fake snow. you are standing in raw sewage up to your knees, with rats paddling around madly looking for refuge. You let out a blood-curdling scream as the rats begin climbing up your legs, but you can't move because your feet are glued to the bottom. Terror and rage storm through your body, shaking the globe furiously as sewage and rats rain down on you. "Please help me," you scream desperately. "Please." Instantly you find yourself standing in a blackened tunnel. Petrified, you spin around, looking for a way out, and see nothing. But as your eyes adjust to the dark, you notice a tiny golden light, as if someone is holding a candle at the far end of the tunnel and walking slowly away. You follow the light steadily downward as the tunnel spirals deeper and deeper into the earth. At last you catch up with the light as it expands, and you find yourself standing in front of two massive and very old wooden double doors, each with their own round iron handles. You don't know where you are or what you're supposed to do, so you grab one of the handles with both hands and pull with all your might. The heavy door swings silently open, revealing Thomas sitting with his back to you in front of a huge holographic image, playing what appears to be a video game. You step cautiously into the dark room, lit only by the light emanating from the hologram. You quickly realize you are invisible to Thomas, so you move closer and stand right next to him, watching as he runs a series of game programs at lightning speed. Gradually, the images slow down, and you realize Thomas is watching himself play the game through a single lifetime that somehow spans across thousands of years. It quickly becomes apparent to you that he is trying to locate and fix a problem he created in the past, because he keeps saying over and over, "Causal seed, as past games flash back and forth, showing different scenarios. It seems as if he is trying to achieve a different outcome by going back in time and choosing an alternate path that would take him into a parallel reality. Unable to find an answer and completely exasperated, he focuses on a moment in time prior to being born into the game. To your surprise, you watch as the spirit world flashes onto the image, a vision of Thomas walking through a gorgeous park and talking with the most exquisite woman you have ever seen. She has thick, shiny black hair that falls to her waist, and a golden light encircling her head like a halo. Her hands and feet are adorned with jeweled rings and bracelets, and she wears a long flowing dress studded with emeralds and rubies that seem to light up from within, causing the dress to sparkle and glow as she moves at a walking pace, floating just above the ground. Her face is so beautiful and luminous, it seems as if a goddess from India has come to life.
"Naya, I know what I want to accomplish, and in this lifetime I'm going to end all human suffering,"
says Thomas wholeheartedly. Shaking her head gently, Naya says softly, "Thomas, I understand your desire to choose a game lifetime that has the potential for you to understand how to navigate the program. But with power comes great responsibility, and as you know, you won't remember your original intentions. There's a much better chance that your newfound power will cause you to manipulate the program rather than try to benefit mankind. And if you do, you will become irrevocably disconnected from any feelings of empathy for your entire lifetime. Do you see the problem? Without empathy, you won't care what happens to anyone else. You'll make selfish decisions from your mind, not your heart. And you could very well create the opposite of what you're now intending.
But the game is an illusion, says Thomas emphatically. It's temporary. There are no victims or victimizers. There are only pre-game agreements that are fulfilled or unfulfilled. You yourself taught me that every action and reaction has a purpose. So what does it matter whether I disconnect from empathy or not? Nothing happens without a prior agreement, and even if there is unavoidable pain, suffering isn't necessary. It's always a choice.
Thomas, that's easy to say from the perspective of the spirit world with light shining all around, says Naya knowingly. But as you well know, suffering doesn't feel like a choice when you are the one suffering.
Well, that's true, and I should know,
says Thomas.
I have certainly had more than my fair share of suffering. All those lifetimes as a woman where I had plenty of empathy but no power,
says Thomas indignantly.
It didn't help me or anyone else. Just suffering and more suffering, and then there's childbirth, but I won't even get into that.
You burst out laughing, clap your hand over your mouth, and then remember Thomas has no idea you're there. Just the thought of Thomas choosing multiple lifetimes as a woman was enough to make your head spin. And though you know he had been a woman, you still have the image of him going through all of the inconveniences of pregnancy and childbirth as a man. It is the most entertaining thought you've had in a very long time. I understand what you're saying, says Naya kindly. But I'm talking about what your life will be like when you return to the spirit world after a lifetime with no empathy. You must remember, Thomas, you have never played a game where you're a man with power and authority. Whatever you believe and feel when you return will show up instantly, and you know nothing of the dark realms.
Really, how bad can it be? No one stays there forever. Everyone can change their minds at any time. People are rehabilitated all the time. There's a hospital right over there, he says, nodding to a gleaming building just across a sparkling lake at the opposite end of the park. Yes, but before anyone is brought to the hospital, they must have a willing change of heart. And sometimes people would rather be right than happy for very, very long periods of time, says Naya thoughtfully. I know I'm taking a chance on this, but I've spent over 100 years in Earth time researching the game program, as well as past games I've played, and I'm certain I can change what's happening on Earth. I've even devised a way to stay alive in a human body, mine or someone else's, for as long as it takes to get the right outcome. And I'm not talking about a longer life. I'm talking about being able to stay for hundreds or thousands of years.
Staying in human form for longer periods of time is not necessarily better. There's a very good reason players have short lifetimes and fully disconnect from their avatar body. You need time away from the illusion to learn from your mistakes and to assimilate new solutions before you return and play again. A fresh start and a new body can be very helpful, even if you are required to forget.
But in the end, we're just talking about two different experiences, because the entire program is an illusion, a very convincing one, but still an illusion that's no more powerful than a dream. Of course, most people dream unconsciously, but there are lucid dreamers who know how to wake up inside the dream, and then they use their thoughts and feelings to manipulate what's happening. I'll have the ability to be fully aware that I'm living in an illusion, a waking dream, if you will. And that awareness will allow me to manipulate the entire program and help everyone on Earth.
It's a very slippery slope, Thomas, says Naya with a penetrating gaze.
Well, isn't the whole idea behind the game to sally forth where no man has gone before, while making colossal mistakes along the way?
Says Thomas jovially.
How else will everyone in the universe be able to sit back, watch the games we play, and know what not to do? How else will they come up with answers if we, the game players, don't create new problems to be solved? My idea is to find a way that we can create and solve problems without suffering.
It takes a moment for you to fully connect with the idea that this is Thomas talking. He is funny, light-hearted, and to your amazement, joyful. More like a person planning a trip to a theme park than someone contemplating a lifetime on Earth. I agree with you, Thomas, and many players share the same sentiment. But this brings us full circle back to the original problem. You will have a full mental understanding of the program, but you will lack empathy. It isn't just a matter of what you will do for others. What happens to you is just as important, especially when you exit the game.
I know I'll probably lose my ability to feel empathy, but I'll be able to feel love. And combined with my knowledge, I think there's a very good chance I can create a world without suffering.
Thomas, you have never managed to do that for yourself in any of your lifetimes. Remember rule number 1. If it doesn't work, stop doing it. What makes you think you could accomplish this for everyone playing on Earth when you haven't even managed it for yourself?
Well, we know that the program causes energy to slow down and appear as matter, according to the feelings of each player, which means each player creates their own world, their own reality,
says Thomas.
The illusion only exists when players see energy moving very, very slowly and perceive it as physical reality. However, perception is not the truth. There's a greater truth that's not subject to perception, and it runs the program. You see, most computer programs have a back door created by the architect. But the game program is just the opposite. The back door is the program itself. I've been thinking about this, and there's a way that I could alter the program so that it's more like the spirit world. Like-minded players playing together rather than a few players dominating the rest.
Thomas pauses for a moment. Go on, says Naya with the faintest hint of a smile. Enthusiastically, Thomas continues.
Energy is the combination of universal intelligence and universal love, which creates, connects, and is everything, including the game program itself. The game is programmed to cause a feeling of separation. How else could a player have an experience? If you know and love everything that has ever happened or ever will happen, nothing new can occur. There would never be the feeling of expansion or growth or creativity. So players perceive intelligence and love as two separate energies, and spend each game period trying to put the two back together.